Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk specifically about the dissolution of my Sunday game, right? And what my plans are now. So first of all, my Sunday game blew apart, right? So basically, there have been 10. Okay, so there have been one person, my narrative player, right? My narrative player communicated for months that they were still engaged and were still going to be playing, right? And actually, we're actually saying, hey, I know I haven't been here in months, but I actually want a DM when my slot comes up. And I was like, oh man, this is like, and then I was like thinking, oh, I should really have a conversation about this. That's not cool to not play in everybody else's game and then still want to take your GM slot, your dungeon master slot. But I was like, I knew that conversation wasn't necessary because with the narrative player, the actions matter, the words don't matter a whole lot. And that took me a little while to learn, but I learned, right? Like I realized, hey, this person ain't here. It don't matter really what they're saying, right? It matters what they're doing, right? So basically, and that player just kind of dissolved out of the game, right? Now that is one of my more epic friends, right? And the reality is, I don't really know if I'm friends with that person anymore. I haven't seen him for months, right? Like, it's just like, I don't know what's going on there, right? And the reality, and I don't assume friendship anymore because I am a terrible friend, right? I am a bad player and a terrible friend. It's two, like, hard as granite facts about Garibay, right? And I tell people and they think I'm wrong, but then they find out, like, I am not the greatest player. And one of the reasons why is I dungeon master from the player seat. I do it constantly, right? So that's a problem. And I'm like, a fine French chef who shows up at a diner, like, I don't know about your cheese, sir. Like, I have opinions about every single thing that's happening at the table, right? And I get really passionate about it, right? And I'm like, this fromage is wrong, like very, like, this, yeah, it's a whole thing. So, so then this other player, my mechanical player, there have been tension between us for weeks, right? And I think the player was like, what am I going to do, right? And the player said to himself, I want to leave this game. And I think that's totally okay. I totally get not wanting to come to my game, right? I'm like, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons for fun, right? Like, if you're here, you better want to grow, learn, or change, right? And if you don't, you really shouldn't be at my table, right? Like, and that person did not want to grow, learn, or change, right? And ended up leaving the table. No problem with that. The problem was they tried to poach my players before they left, right? Like, they said, this is my last week here. And what's really sad is we had one, there was another dungeon master who was taking the B slot. We have an A slot and a B slot, right? And that other person had run a 6-week session that there's no game ending for. It was very, like, this player just, they lit the fuse, and I stuck extra dynamite on it, and the Sunday game just dissolved, right? And so the reason why I'm telling you all this is I'm like, do this, right? And like, so I need to be honest with you. I need to be genuinely honest with you. It's not appropriate me for not to be transparent, right? I also need to protect the privacy of these players, right? Like, so I never use their real names, right? So, all right. So what is my plan now, right? So first of all, I'm blessed. I'm covered through the year, right? So I have 2 conventions coming up. I have PhilCon, which I absolutely love. Check out PhilCon. It's in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Fantastic science fiction writers convention with a gaming room. So I'm going to prep probably 2 or 3 different one-shots to run there. And that's coming up in like November, right? So I can prep for that. And then also PAX Unplugged is coming up. And that is literally 3 days of gaming. And I think I'm going to be running probably half a dozen to a dozen one-shots in that, right? So, and also I have the opportunity to play in a lot of different games there. And I can also play in PhilCon. So that's filling the year, right? Like, just getting prepped for half a dozen to a dozen plus one-shot games that I'm going to run at conventions. That'll take me through the new year, right? And frankly, I'm also going to be running some one-shots for people. I'm going to circle up with, the short supply of good friends I still have, right? and say, hey, do you want to try this one shot? And I'm going to try some really experimental Dungeons and Dragons stuff with one shots with people I still know, circling back and reconnecting and kind of shoring up old friendships. So that is my current plan. That's what I'm going to do. And then what am I going to do in the new year? Well, I don't need to decide it now, right? I literally have 2 months to decide what I'll do in the new year. So I'm going to percolate. I'm going to think about it, right? And then maybe a new table in the new year, right? And what will that new table look like? Where will it be? Maybe I take a whole year and I just play, right? Because I am a legit terrible player, right? Like, and one thing is, like, I don't like to give up on stuff. Maybe there's a a world where Scott Garibay could learn to be a good player, right? So that's my current plans. I just wanted to share it with you. Thank you very much for letting me share that with you. And also, what should I do? Right? Like, so, you've heard how the game dissolved. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. And I'm asking for advice. And this is one of the things. People say a bunch of things I don't like, right? I'm going to try to remember when I asked for the advice and listen up and not be harsh with responses for something I literally asked for. So all that is my humble opinion. I'm very eager to hear your humble opinion on what I should do next. And thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I have to say, I'm shocked. Even some of my most savage commenters have been very, like, almost tender with me this week. Like, I felt like they were backing off a little and giving me a little space, which is very, really nice, right? And I've even had some commenters who have come back, after a few, weeks or months off. And I just really want to thank you all for your encouragement. It's been really, it's a low week for Garibay. I'm kind of working through it, and I really, truly appreciate your support. Love to hear your thoughts below. Take care, and please have a wonderful millennium.